Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show here on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host this evening. Don't forget you can catch us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter on the old New Zealand Sport Radio. And also you can catch up with a podcast if you like to sort of watch it or listen along while you're mowing your lawn or doing your housework or something, or even driving in the car like I do with my podcasts. But I know a man who doesn't drive far enough to do podcasts because he lives in a small town. How you doing there, Steve?
I'm going to my small little town down here where I don't drive. Now we get on the old horse and cart around here, and we go up to the mart and get the shoes changed on the horses. That's not no, you're not wrong. Mowing the lawns. I don't think I'd mow the lawns to a podcast though. The lawnmower's a bit noisy to really hear what they're saying. You're gonna blast music so that it drowns out the lawnmower. But a little walk in the park is good for a nice podcast. I'll give you that. Nothing you'd want more than to listen to us yammering about rugby while you're going for a nice tranquil walk in the park. Exactly.
Look, I mean, I live in a smaller place than you do. Let's be honest.
True, actually.
Apparently, Waihi in the early 1900s was the third biggest town in New Zealand.
Oh,
there you go. Well, yeah.
What went wrong?
Well, the gold mine closed, basically. That's what went wrong. And then reopened later with lots of kind of big trucks and stuff rather than people hand digging. Hence, we needed less people. So hence technology. Damn you! And that AI thing is going to totally ruin our whole podcasting career, isn't it? They're going to deep fake us if anyone could give a damn.
There, you nailed it. No one cares.
No one cares.
We're too far down the food chain for them to worry about us.
Exactly. That's why. I was kind of like, yes, yeah. The most most companies in New Zealand, your best defense is being small enough that no one gives a damn to hack your computers. Okay. That's. Oh dear me. So Nocturnal Right City called it last week with the Force. Well done, sir. Well done.
Damn you. It would have been 6 from 6 if it wasn't for you, Nocturnal. Although I am getting called for third, so I'm pretty happy.
Those dastardly kids. Scooby-Doo. Oh, dearie me. Anyway, let's get through some news, shall we? And kick off the show.
All right. I'll give you half an hour.
So, Sam Whitelock. Well, I've not got enough news for that because it's just going to be me ranting about how the New Zealand Rugby CEO doesn't know his arse from his elbow. If not counting, I don't really need another half-hour rant for that again on that one. Yeah, Sam Whitelock back, because clearly Scott Robinson's clearly seen his problem already. Is the line out, and if you look at the Crusaders line out from last weekend, you can see where he's coming from. I guess 8 out of 17, not even 50%. Ouch.
Ouch.
So, do they need Sam Whitelock back? Is that a good idea to try and get Sam Whitelock back into the back for the All Blacks?
Jeez, no. I thought you were going to go on a rant about it first. I was waiting for the big rant. No, terrible idea. Look, if you've tuned into this more than probably twice, or anything that I do, you'll know that I'm all about the youth. It's all about the youth coming through. Hanging on to these old guys when they're up to 35 plus years of age is not beneficial to anyone. Look, if you want to bring them in as some sort of, like a wider coaching group, kind of to get the culture of the squad and keep that sort of thing, I could kind of understand. But as a player, look, fantastic servant, exceptional player, great man, no doubt. But look, he's closed that chapter now, and it's time we all move on. I don't think the All Blacks really, New Zealand Rugby, looking through the Super Rugby teams we've seen the last few weeks, lock is certainly not one of the positions that I'm really too stressed about. But we do. You're right, though. Line-out heads we've seen with the Six Nations. We are seeing it with Super Rugby. Maybe not so much, but the line-out, certainly, if you can't win your own line-out, it's massively overtaking the scrum as that pivotal sort of set piece. So it's crucial. It's important. I understand that, but I think we've got the quality definitely within the country to look after that without getting Whitelock. Now, the man throwing the ball could be a different sort of issue as well, but, Sam can't do that as well.
No, you need Josh van der Fleer to do that, who can... I don't know if you do remember that there. The game was a couple of years ago now where the where Ireland lost their hooker to a yellow card, and he actually stepped up and was pretty good at throwing in the line out.
Well, they got that in the last round. Pretty sure Ireland got their hooker send off, and I think it was Gibson Park threw it in. Someone weird threw it in, and it was an absolute shocker. Not only was it straight, it didn't even hit the players. It was overthrown, and we never saw it again. Rightfully so.
A couple of years ago now, about 2 years ago, I was down at the local rugby club, and I used to play hooker back in the day. But I gave up when I was like 16. I'm not played for, so it was like 30 odd years between line out throws, and they had the stick up with the hoop on top, basically the broken a kind of netball hoop. It was like, I've done line outs, I can do this. Oh shit, I didn't even make it halfway up. It's like, oh my god, it's dear, not so much. Train the wingers to do it like back in 1980s. No, but it was fun at a NPC game the other year and it was watching Bay of Plenty, and they lost their hooker to the I've gone blank. The Blues hooker, the plays Bay of Plenty. No, not Riccatelli. Another one. Chris Eklund.
Kurt
Eklund. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Got half.
And then the winger was I can't remember who the winger was. But he's like, I've done it in sevens. It was that easy. I could do it. And it's like brilliant. So yeah, I had a quick chat with Kurt. I say, what do you think of the lineup throwing if you winger at the week? He's like, no. Oh dear, all funny games. But look, I mean, again, just looking at the Blues Crusaders game, because I've got it up at the moment, the stats wise. In that game, we had 19 scrums, but he also had 32 lineouts. So you can see why the lineout now is more important than the scrum, because it happens more often at the end of the day, right? If you're going to get like twice as many lineouts as scrums, then it's going to be more important from an attack point of view, because it's how you restart the game at the end of the day.
And you also give away a lot more ground too with kicks, with lineouts too, don't you? Because not only are you conceding the ground off from a kick, so hey, that team's gone 20, 30 meters upfield, but you've got the ball. But if you can't keep hold of it, they're just getting 20, 30 meters up the field, getting the ball back. At least, if you're losing a scrum, it's kind of stationary as to where you had it, right? It's sure you're giving the ball away and it's a structured opportunity, but you're not giving away 30 meters plus a structured opportunity plus possession, right? So it's almost worse in more ways than one.
So yes, I don't know how we got on to lineouts, but anyway, we did.
Whitelock.
Sorry?
Whitelock, yes,
exactly. So it's a very important role. Other sort of transfer news, you had one about in the UK for Saracens, apparently.
Oh yeah, now I've closed it. Now I've completely forgotten what it was. The Crusaders. Hang on, I need to remember who it was now. The Crusaders fly half, who is currently injured, that goes by the name of Fergus Burke, has apparently, now this is, like I said to you before, this isn't 100% confirmed, but apparently high on the radar / almost confirmed / in the works, moving to Saracens as a replacement for Owen Farrell for next season in the Premiership. So yeah, watch that space, but I don't think that New Zealand Rugby is in a position where they want to be really losing. Look, I mean, one of the most experienced 10s in the country right now, right?
Wow.
Who's more experienced than him? McKenzie, Perifeta?
McKenzie, Perifeta, Josh Joshuani, all these guys have been around. I didn't say better. I said more experienced.
Yeah, at a Super Rugby level, maybe cap-wise, yeah. But still, you're still looking at probably one of your top 5, 6 sort of guys, right? So I just think, sure, he's not going to be a walk-in All Black, but I just think, losing him again, you're weakening something that I think is very, very weak already. So watch that space. We'll see how it goes. Nocturnal thinks he's qualifies for Scotland. Well, it all makes sense now. Why is he going to Saracens and he should be going to Glasgow? Get him in.
But if he qualifies for Scotland, he doesn't have to do the residency thing in Glasgow and get paid.
Oh, that's true, of course.
So he has to get paid well.
Oh, yeah, Scotland do select outside of Scotland, don't they? Yeah. I get confused with their Wales don't. Scotland do. Oh, just confused.
Wales kind of do. They have like a special rule. If you haven't been... Yeah, so it's all convoluted.
A cap rule, right?
Not just a cap rule, but also if you've not been offered a contract by a Welsh team. So basically, if you've never ever actually, so that you can actually get selected for Wales outside of Wales, because no one in Wales wanted you, didn't realise you were good. Then as soon as you are good, you have to go back. It's kind of the deal.
Wales is a concern, man.
And they're like funny things like so for I've gone blank as to the tight head props name who played for Exeter and Wales. He had to go back eventually, but his first contract had the option of an extension if both the player and the team agreed, and that way he avoided going back to Wales for 2 years by having a contract extension rather than a new contract. And stupid little legal loopholes like that, they different players try to do as well. So yes, and the prop I'm talking about used to play for London Scottish before going to Exeter. But anyway, I know details about him, but not his name. Oh dear.
No.
So moving on then. So we have a CEO of New Zealand Rugby who apparently who thinks he's doing a really good job, which is kind of scary. So he's very happy that they managed to get the 20-minute red card to be a world to be trialled by World Rugby, and this is a sign that they're pushing forward with more exciting play or entertainment or increasing the entertainment factor of rugby. Look, rugby has done very well by just applying the laws it actually has. Right, when you apply the laws of the book, you actually get a good game and something that's very watchable out of it. So stop pissing around with that and actually try connecting with fans. Right. Now, apparently, that he's really happy with Super Rugby this year because clearly, whilst no one is actually bothering to turn up to the ground, as you can see by a lot of the pictures, well, if you look at something like the Blues Crusaders game, I mean, that is the biggest draw card possible at Eden Park, right? Really, and no one was there. But apparently, compared to round 4 last year, they're up 25%. Now, viewership on Sky. Now, if you're going to pick specific rounds, I'm sure you'll have good and bad rounds that you can go, yes, they had a bad round last year in 4, and it's a good round this year in 4. Stop just picking set rounds and stop just deciding that the only thing that matters is TV numbers, right? Because, people don't like watching empty grounds. It's much more fun watching a game in Suva because there's lots more people in the ground making a noise, right? And we like that noise. So yes, Simon again, he needs to focus on getting the game, professional game in the provinces working. This they want to kill off the professional game in that level. They want it to be amateur. So there we go. The proposed change to allow the mark for the kickoff might change the nature of the game. There was I've gone blank now. There was a rugby writer, and his idea was actually you're allowed to mark the ball anywhere in the pitch. And that way, you're going to totally stop people kicking, basically, because unless you can kick and hit grass, you're not going to kick. Because if you kick and someone can catch it clean, they're going to call a mark. Just removes the box kick, or at least or a lot of the box kicks, because if you don't win it back, if the opposition win it and call a mark, you've lost everything. So I get the idea there, a bit like the one about the 50-22, is not to allow teams to do it. It's to force defenders to spread out more. So I kind of get the idea. So it's an interesting one that might be worth a trial at some sort of level. Anyway, any other news? If you want to comment on that, or should we move on to games? Or got other news?
Look, I think that idea you just mentioned, except in your defensive half, you can call a mark anywhere. So if you take a kick inside your own half, you can mark, which. I mean, because you don't really want to stamp out attacking aggressive kicks that try and pressure teams, that only go maybe 10 meters, right? But still pin teams down and put defensive pressure on them that way. I don't think there's not too much point in stamping that out because there's not too much to gain from teams really doing it, is there? Teams don't do it that much. You normally, if you're going to kick in that area, it's probably along the ground or it's pretty much sideways, right? So I don't see a bad thing about that. I'd probably say in your own half, in your own defensive half, anywhere you can call a mark, it really shuts down those stupid sort of just box kick, 10-meter line to 10-meter line sort of things that we continuously get. But no news-wise, nothing too exciting for me. Look, you know what I'm like. Politics, out the door. Get out. Just go. Any politics, any crappy CEO talk. He's a dickhead. Don't care. I just watch the games, man, for fun.
Not so much as the idea is that it means that basically kickoffs that go into the 22 can be marked to basically to try and make more contestable short kickoffs. That's an interesting idea. Again, not totally anti that one. I guess it's interesting that New Zealand Rugby are hiring a chief people safety and well-being officer. Oh, geez, how more convoluted can you change? And also a senior content lead, because obviously the important thing now. Sorry.
Where do I apply?
When you apply, I'll send you the link. But you have to move to Wellington, which I know is a bit far north for you. You get a nosebleed. That's good to see New Zealand Rugby still hiring people there in the central offices. The senior content lead. Look, I've heard this guy before. I've heard the person who's in this role before talk about how wonderful the size of their audience is outside New Zealand, and you're like. Again, missing the point, folks. Yes, but hey, that's how we get AIG in, and how we get all the big sponsors. So that's where the money is. So that's where we want to be. Anyway, before we do far too much ranting down that route, let's talk about some games. So we kicked off on Friday night with the Hurricanes versus the Rebels. As the title says, spoiler alert: the Hurricanes go marching on. They won the game. In case anyone hasn't seen it. But boy, oh boy, to jump out to a 33-0 lead. God, they started quick, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game. We looked at this game on Friday, on stream with some of the good chaps that tune into that, and I tell you, this is a game where you look at the lineups and you go, well, this is kind of giving the Rebels almost a little bit of a sniff. You've seen that rested a lot of players. A lot of these guys that you hadn't heard so much of into the starting lineup. And I looked and I thought, oh, now if there's going to be a game that I think there might be an upset, this one could go up to the top of my list. Until I looked down the bench and saw Jack Maunder on there, kind of killed my enthusiasm. But aside from that, I thought this is a game that the Hurricanes, given the laxed sort of approach they brought to it with their selections, thought might have given the Rebels a bit of a chance, but holy heck, there's no chance at all. Did they blew them off the park? Like you say, they didn't score till about a minute before half-time. Was it 33-0? Tries are plenty, but boy, how good does this Harry Godfrey guy look? He looks really fun and exciting. Who is he? I don't know. I only see him once. He looks really, really fun. But overall for this game, for me, it was great to see so many of those names getting a chance. The Godfreys, Sinkinson's back in. Rayasi's been sitting on the bench. Aidan Morgan, who I think is an absolute talent. A lot of those guys coming and getting a chance. And boy, I mean, they took it. They took that one brilliantly, didn't they? And they blew the Rebels off the park. And it's like, you ain't coming back 33 points to 5 or whatever it was for 33-7 at halftime. Not with the way they're playing, that confidence. They look just too good, too fun, and things were just going for them. It was really good. This power game, I think, of that back line really did overwhelm the Rebels. When you got all those players here who don't just outpace you, they knock you off and then they outpace you. It's a double whammy of ability sort of. So exciting game, but how good to see these guys getting a chance. That was an absolute highlight for me. Yeah,
I mean, they go ahead and drop who everyone believes is going to be the starting All Black number 9. Someone who we in the All Blacks conversation or All Blacks squad at 10, and someone who people have been saying is the best fullback in New Zealand as well. If you drop those 3 players and you don't miss a beat, wow! You take out the spine of your back line. Now, admittedly, you've got Jordy Barrett coming back after his suspension. He looked good for his rest. So I think actually for long term for the season, I think that's actually probably been a good thing, him getting that red card. And from that point of view, the Hurricanes have found a replacement 12, haven't they? Which is also there's some depth. So look, the cracking start by the Hurricanes. As you say, they're never going to come back from that. I mean, the Hurricanes didn't dominate the stats either to go out to 33-0. 52% possession, 48% territory. So they had less territory than Rebels, slightly more possession. But boy, oh boy, 33-0. They did the right things with it. All right, at the end of the day, with that. So on that one, Cracking one. Look, cracking game all round. Why? Well, because things like set piece. The Hurricanes won all their scrums, won all their lineouts. The Rebels lost one scrum, won all their lineouts. So they both had decent possession. They both had a platform to play off, and hence why you got 1,300 meters of running with ball in hand on this. So you say cracking game here because there's lots of rugby played in this one. Sure, there are a few turnovers, but also the referee put his whistle in the pocket. 11 penalties in total in this game. So a clean game with lots of running rugby. This is exactly what you want to see. Now, okay, you don't want it to be one-sided and decided before the half-hour mark, but as far as a spectacle, this is kind of thing. This is kind of what Robinson's looking for, as what he thinks we should be watching. And I don't disagree with him. It was a good game from that point of view. A couple of comments. Palmerston North was a good crowd. Yeah, again, small ground where you only play once a year. Funny enough, you know what? Everybody comes along. It's their only opportunity. Scarcity leads to good crowds. Playing somewhere for 50, playing somewhere like all the time kills your crowds. So that's so that one. But no, not a good place for the Melbourne Rebels to replace to. It was a good crowd because they get one game a year, right?
Yep.
Maybe give them one or two, but don't try and put it. Do not try and put a franchise in there. We do not want the Central Vikings back. Okay, that will not work. Carter Gordon had a good game. As I say, both teams ran the ball well. The Rebels had a good game, but the problem was they were so far behind on the scoreboard that they had to go for points and chase the game, and they were never going to come back from that point of view. The man with two Vikings, you never know. The only thing I would say about the crowd was I couldn't spot the bucket heads. Oh, I wish they'd turned up. I'm a great fan of something that's unique about a place and something that's a bit different. And that's why I like the bucket heads. I would not want to see bucket heads in every single ground in New Zealand, but having them at one place is cool. And I like that uniqueness. A bit like cowbells in Hamilton are fine. Cowbells anywhere else, don't do it, please. Right? Let's have some things that give place character from that point of view. Simon Hughes. Paul's going to disappoint the poor Central Vikings fans. Now you've misspelt that. The poor Central Viking fan, right? Vikings fan. There wasn't even the Central Vikings people didn't like the fact they were Central Vikings at the time. Okay, they wanted they didn't like the fact that Hawke's Bay and Manawatu merged. So yeah, on that one. Bishop apparently was article saying that the Reds keep choosing a team that ruck, and the Rebels a team that are not defending. Well, hey, if you're looking for new contracts, like I think all the Rebels players are, you want to show off your good side as much as possible, i.e., your attacking flair.
The poor Rebels have been a bit hard done by, I reckon, the last few weeks. They've been pumped, haven't they? Like, well, a lot of their games have been, fairly comfortably beaten. But they don't look that typically bad, Like, they just have a passage of the game. Like you take out the opening half an hour of this game, and it was fairly competitive. I know it's 4 tries or whatever. It's a big portion of 5 tries, but still, the game's gone. But still, you take the positive, that 50 minutes of that game, they were really into it, and they were scoring points, they were attacking, and they looked quite decent. The ability is there, right? The players are there. They can score the tries. That's why I look at this result, right? And I don't say for the Rebels, yes, it's a disappointing loss, but it could have. What's worse to me is if that was, 35-0. The fact it was 54-28, they actually contributed. Sure, they conceded a few more, but they actually got on the board. They actually got some points on the table. Is actually better for me than getting beaten 30 points to 0. So, yes, bad doom and gloom, but yeah, I think Carter Gordon's been getting a lot of props for this team. I think he started off really poorly this season, but he's got better and better and better as he's gone on. And I think they just need to rely on him and run their play through him and Callaway and just let everyone else kind of just feed off what those two guys can do, because that's their trumps, and they're good enough with support cast around them to cause some trouble. And I think they'll cause some trouble this weekend as well, just to jump ahead slightly.
And look, but in defence is a big one. on that one. For me, and one of the tries in that first half was a real poor kick chase, where the fullback takes the ball, comes in, lands totally uncontested, has about 5-6 steps before he bumps off somebody, and then no one gets touched before the ball goes over. You're like, yeah, okay, there's no kick chase there. They're not up in a line. There's one guy chasing, and everyone else is kind of tired already. You're like, okay. Now I can see how
really
your head's going to drop. Sorry?
He took that kick really, like, he took it from far away. He pretty much jumped through all those chasers who were stationary, like, it's going to land here. And then he kind of just went, flew straight past them. So it was just really, really timed take. Normally you'd run up and jump, straight up and take a catch. But the way he took it at speed, like you say, it eliminated them all completely. They were unsuspecting of it. So it was a really good take. That's what I mean. Who the hell is Harry Godfrey? Well, now we know.
Well, yeah. Does Love get his jersey back? We'll have to see.
Yes,
I think he does, because he's been playing very well before this. So moving on then to the team that apparently is struggling so far. If you listen to all the commentators in the Brumbies, who've only lost one game this season, but they're nowhere near as good as they are normally, and they're really struggling. Go back to the other game. Please, can the Hurricanes actually play in yellow at some point this season? Well, they're playing in black like just about every single game. This was a home game. This was not an away game. You're not supposed to wear your away jersey for home games. Or they're only allowed to wear yellow in they're playing in black in this game.
Why though? I was going to say, was it a colourblind dark light thingy? But then the Rebels played in they played in the pink, didn't they?
They played in pink, yes. So can we just have teams playing in their jersey so we can recognise them when people turn the TV on who don't know what the game's going to be already? Just please, just play in your jersey. So Brumbies versus Moana Pacifica, if you're wondering who I'm talking about. This is the first good Brumbies performance this year. You say that, but I mean and this was obviously a good performance at 60-21. But look, the Brumbies beat the Rebels in round 1, 30-3. Sure, they lost to the Chiefs, but I think a lot of teams are going to lose to the Chiefs this year. Beat the Force, beat the Highlanders away. So look, black is the coolest color, probably better than yellow. But I don't care about that. Look, I want when I switch the TV on and we'll look at a game, I want to immediately know who's who. When I got pink versus black, I'm like, hang on a second, this is supposed to be yellow versus blue. I'm going to try and get my head around this. So no, totally against it. That one, sorry. So look, okay, I guess that Brumbies Force game was close, closer than it perhaps should have been. If you're talking about the top Australian side, but still, look, they've only lost one game against the title favourites coming into the season in the Chiefs. So I think they've had that people are being very negative about them, and hopefully this sort of changes people's opinion.
Do you want that though? Like, I mean, if you're the Brumbies, I think I'm quite happy sitting here and everyone's going, "Oh, they're not as good as I think they should have been. They're not performing as well as they should be." Considering, the old saying, you can only beat what's put in front of you. Hey, it's the Rebels, it's the Force. Okay, they lost to the competition favourites. They've never really played so far any teams that are kind of around that should be in the top 4, top 6, top 8 sort of conversation, right? So they've pretty much, aside from the Chiefs, obviously, which was that one tougher game. So they've dismantled who they should have dismantled. But I have to say, Nocturnal, the thieving bugger, has stolen my point I was going to go to straight away on this one, that they went back to that forward play that I think has been missing from their game so far this season. Has it been a case of when they've had to use it, it's not worked, and other games where they haven't used it, they haven't needed to use it sort of situation, and now they've got to this game and they've been like, okay, let's knuckle this stuff sort of down against a team, Moana Pacifica, who we probably think, we should be demolishing them anyway, and that's an area that we definitely have the upper hand over them as well. So maybe that's the situation on it, but it was good to see. And it's a situation where the Brumbies are showing, hey, we've been beating teams easily enough, albeit whoever they are, using, hey, these flashbacks we've got now and these explosive back rowers and what's his name? Charlie Kale is just an absolute freak. We thought Corey Toole was a freak. Man, this Kale guy is just incredible as well. But hey, it's like, hey,
suddenly
don't
they've
forget.
got a 13.
with a number 8 on his back, yeah. don't forget about the fact here that we can also go to our set piece and demolish you that way as well. I think this is the most threatening Brumbies team we've possibly seen in quite some while, because not only have they got that threat of their pack, but they've also now got a bigger threat. You know, they've always had the Tom Wrights and stuff like that, but now they've got guys who can actually threaten literally with that X factor brilliance like Corey Toole brings by himself to just completely do something outside the top draw. So not really talking about this match whatsoever, just the Brumbies in a whole, in a way. But yeah, they started off hot. They dominated this game. Moana Pacifica, or hang on, should we say it like the commentators do? Moana Pacifica, as they do, weren't really at this ball game, were they? They were so error-ridden. They were shut out in that first half, and just didn't really reward themselves for the opportunities that they kind of situations they put themselves into. So, yeah, unfortunate for Moana.
One of my points was, the Moana got shut out in this first half, and yet we're still in touch, which is amazing, right? They
at halftime.
They first, at halftime. During that first half, I mean, it was 22-14 heading into halftime, and you're like, okay, it's okay. Technically, it is 2 scores, but you're just 8 points behind, considering you've had no ball, no possession, no possession, no territory. The fact that you're still within touching distance here was brilliant for them. Then, unfortunately, they gave up a try either side of half time, and suddenly it's 36-14, and the game's gone. But they did manage to keep in this for much longer than the stats would tell you they should have done in this game, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, Moana's a team that offers a lot, and they threaten a lot, but they have that inconsistency of ability just to turn those chances into points. And that is a game, if you watch that first half, if they were leading, without reading stats or anything like that, you wouldn't be surprised, right? If they took their chances. Okay, if you didn't know that they only had 30% of the ball, or 37 or whatever it was, then you'd be like, fair enough. They've had the opportunities, they've got in the right areas of the field. But the fact is they're not converting those chances. And once they kind of lost that touching point in the second half, it was kind of completely our way. But I just think they're just too many silly errors, too many silly mistakes, too many things that could be controlled that they're not controlling, if that makes sense in the way that they play. So, look, Moana they've done a lot, they've improved a lot, but games like this kind of show out as to areas that they're still lacking from being up with the top sides. But hey, they're getting some great players through. Tomo Filau and Anisi, the 2 of the try scorers, ironically enough, especially Anisi. I mean, look, that guy's incredible. He is absolutely incredible. So as long as they can keep him fit and keep him firing, they're always going to be a good threat. They've got good players who have got solid heads on them, like the Havilis, who control their game. I think they get good ball through their halves. So all the keys, or all the tools are there. It's just about executing their systems properly. And I just think in this game, they were just not finishing their dinner. That was a problem. And then the errors come in later on. They just got left behind. And I do think this game kind of blew out. It kind of, especially from that first 40, it kind of, the scoreline doesn't represent the final picture of what we saw in this game, unfortunately, for Moana. So, but yeah, you got to go back. Well done, Brumbies. I think they pulled out their tools here a bit and did, like you say at the start, they did give the bit of the middle finger to the media and say, hey, look, we've got the goods here. Just watch us.
Yeah, and Tom Wright's been quiet, I think, this season, and suddenly he's joined the party. So it looks like he's back in form, which is nice to see. When you put, so they're putting together a real dangerous back 3 or back 4, 5 now outside that. Well, no, the 13 that's Crichton, was it? I think it was. Crichton.
Hudson Crichton,
who got himself two tries. So yeah, he had a cracking game as well. So that sort of, those outside backs really are starting to be dangerous. Sure, the Brumbies got 3 line-out maul tries, but they got 9 tries. So if only a third of your tries are coming from that, it's not too bad. They've still got that in the locker, but they can also they also do have some real dangerous backs as well, which is good. And Moana again, look, losing 4 line-outs. We've talked about how important that was earlier on. They need to sort out their set piece as well from on that side of things.
Always
Next
comes
up,
back
then,
to the line out.
next up, a game that I thought that was a hell of a lot closer than I was expecting it to be. At the end of the day, the Fijian and Drua absolutely kind of took care of the Crusaders at home, and I thought that the Waratahs were going to find it tough over there in Fiji. But boy oh boy, they showed some real spirit, because in that first half, sure, they got the first try or got the first points on the board, got themselves 10-0 ahead or 0-10 ahead. But suddenly, Massey decided that he would have a hat trick before half time, and the Drua really just took control of this game there to lead 26-10 at half time. So at that point, you're looking at this thinking this is really going to blow out in to the Fijian at that point. I was thinking,
gee, this game was this game was really funny, wasn't it? It was. I mean, it didn't feel like at any point that anyone was fully, truly in control of this game. The start was your Waratahs start off a bit fiery, and then obviously the Drua come storming back and controlled into it. But it's just a game that just toed and froed, and I just feel like with the Drua, I don't know if it's just me with the Drua, but no matter what the scoreline is, I never feel fully safe that a result is really in the bank. Even when they're leading by, what was it, and at most, I think 16 points or so, when it was 26-10 around halftime. That was their biggest lead of the game. I think it's just not enough. It's just not enough for the way that they play, which always concerns me. But this was an incredible game. Really, really was incredible, and it wasn't great conditions either, which really made it more intriguing that there's so many tries.
That pitch was cutting up pretty nasty.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to disagree. The pitch was terrible, but the weather conditions as well weren't helping that situation, because it was wet, but it wasn't wet. So you get patches where you get actually moisture coming down, and then it will dry out and give you that slipperiness of it drying but not drying, and the wet on the ground. It was really hard, or it looked really hard to play in. But considering you come out of that game with near on 80 odd points, it's quite a real amazing thing from these two sides. But yeah, Draw looked really good. I mean, the end was just remarkable for me, especially the fact once it went to extra time that the Waratahs actually won that toss and chose to go with the wind, which you think, oh well, surely they're cooked now. They've got that on their side. They'll be able to work their way up, and that's where I thought that professionalism, for the Waratahs would come into them. Just that little bit of extra rugby IQ that they kind of have from their setup, that they'll get that little finishing touch over the drawer. But man, those drawers really did push that extra envelope, and that drop goal at the end to finish with, that was some shot. Off balance, just being half hit, just to slap it over like that was just a shocking.
To be fair, it was under penalty advantage, so he knew he could lovely take the step, and it was a fantastic way to finish the game. There, Bruce, but both defense had more holes than a beehive. Sure, and also look, set piece wasn't so great here, but that might have come down to the conditions. Both sides lost. The Fijian and Drua lost three of their lineouts. The Waratahs 5 of theirs. Hence why we didn't quite get the same meters run, because it wasn't the same platform to play off as we did in that Hurricanes game. The Hurricanes versus Rebels. Still a lot of running in this game with this one, but Ed Med he needs a psychiatrist after this one. missing one of the conversions leading up to the end of the game, and then missing the drop goal as well. It didn't even get over the bloody crossbar. I mean, poor kid. Look, he's not a very. It's only his second season in Super Rugby, I think. So it was really kind of a pressure situation for him that I don't think he coped with very well in that one. But also a yellow card in overtime as well, and still managed to go down the pitch, get themselves into a position, get themselves penalty advantage, and then for one of their players. I mean, not even their it's not even their sort of it's not even their 10, or even like the starting 10 anyway. To take that step and then drop it over was glorious in the way it was done. Sure, there was the penalty. They wouldn't come back for the penalty anyway and knocked it over, but it was much better that they actually ended it that way. I think for that one. So
it almost defied belief, didn't it? Like you saw him do it, and you're like, "There's no way that's going over." The guy's falling over. He's just been like knocked half of his feet. He's off balance. He's kicked it, kind of leaning backwards.
Well, as soon as the defense is up, you're thinking this isn't okay. They're going through the hands. Then he just steps a guy, drops it, and goes, "Wow!" And you're like, "Oh, geez, that's taken some." Not just it really has taken some skill. Now it was a shot to nothing, admittedly, that they'd come back, but hey, he took his opportunity and goes down in history now for the Drua.
Oh, in history, I mean, 3 beers for him for the rest of the season, I'd say, down at the old Drua pub, that's for sure. I mean, classic way to finish it. I think this is a really bizarre matchup. Just didn't really kind of, I don't know whether it was the conditions or what it was. It was just really kind of intriguing to watch how they were playing and just the twists and turns and the ups and downs that the match kind of had. It was kind of riveting in its own way, not for the spectacle, but just for the developments of how the match went. I found it quite an intriguing game. And hey, the draw won with a bizarrely freakish, unbelievable drop goal in extra time. I mean, you can't script this stuff. It was a great finish, but unfortunate for the Waratahs. But a lot of cards, like you mentioned the cards. There was 3 cards throughout that game. A couple for the Drua, but they really hardly kind of showed, which was amazing about the teams. The way that they played, pushed on so well, especially the Drua with those players in the bin.
No, but also the Tars. I mean, when they lost a player, it was 7-7 during that, and they scored first when they lost a player as well. So yeah, neither side seemed to be hampered by the fact that they lost players in this one. No. Moving on then to a game that had a lot less points, but just as much running in it, which is the Chiefs versus the Highlanders. This one, which obviously this is painful for you, but this really is a sign to me of where scoreboard pressure really won this game. By if you scored first in this game, you won the game, because the Chiefs went out to a 21-0 lead or a 28-0 lead basically, and then the Highlanders are chasing it. The Chiefs give up 14 penalties, but the Highlanders can't kick threes at any point, right? Because they're chasing the game. They have to go for tries. Whereas actually, if this had been a close game and they could knock over threes and keep the scoreboard going, they might have won this one. If it had been an even game either way. But I think this was one where the Chiefs got that good start, got the scoreboard pressure, and maybe they took the foot off the gas and relaxed a bit as well because you're so far ahead. But to me, this was one where they had the scoreboard pressure, so they forced the Highlanders to do stuff that perhaps they didn't want to do to try and chase the game, and that's how they won this one, rather than kind of blowing it out which is I think quite a few people might expect it to do at that point.
This is another weird old game, right? This is a bizarre one. 28-0 with 20 minutes to go. You're kind of thinking like, oh man, can they at least score one try just so we can, make it something to 7, just so it's not the old donut, right? You never want that old donut. But the Highlanders' own worst enemy, man. I mean, the Chiefs were good. I mean, you got that fiery good start, but they weren't fantastic, right? They took their chances, but they didn't. The Highlanders didn't get blown off the paddock. They literally shot themselves in the foot. They are their own shotguns. They're just going around at really terrible timings just to shoot themselves in the foot and to ruin the game for themselves. They weren't in that match until the last 20 minutes. But I do find the fact that absolutely freaked the living snot out of the Chiefs. That first few minutes, they were stressing, which baffles me as to whether, like you say, did they go to sleep and think 28-0, we got this in the bag, let's just chill to the end? Or was this the Highlanders actually, when they actually click, what they can do? And I think when they click, they can do this sort of stuff. But I think there's a bit of a combination of both. And I think that probably that last try, the third try that the Highlanders scored, was a case of that the Chiefs are actually starting to lose their mental side of things a little bit. That third try, I think, really put the pressure on them massively in the end. Credit to them, though, because they come back. And the Chiefs, you didn't notice a lot of difference before that third try was scored, and even to the second and third try, that period, to after that third try was scored. The Chiefs come back, and they were a lot more structured, a lot more calmer. They weren't frantically running around, pointing and throwing arms at each other. They seemed to have just slowed everything down a bit and gone, look, go back to what we know. Go back to relying on your teammates. Go back to the trusting the processes and stuff.
Also, their captain, Luke Jacobson, came back from his yellow card. So
that's
I think
true. That could have made a difference too. Yeah.
That
was a huge difference.
A big part of that one. But even in the first half, the Highlanders had more possession and territory. 56% possession, 66% territory. The Highlanders had 66% territory in this game, 65%. 66% possession, 65% territory. They had all the territory, they had all the possession, and yet we're 28 down, 28-0 down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Chiefs really were when they got it, they struck. I mean, I think they had like 4 entries into the Highlanders 22, and they scored 3 times, or something on those sort of lines. So clearly, they must have gone 4 times, so they got 4 tries. But anyway, they were very, very clinical when they got down there, with those tries. And again, but to me, it was be clinical. Then you score more pressure, and you say not the best game or not the most dominating game by the Chiefs in this one at all, which I think probably gives a lot of other teams. Will give a lot of teams, the teams will look at this and go, actually, we can do something against this Chiefs team, even though they are still cruising along nicely with just the 1 loss so far this season.
And it goes to show, I reckon, in a game like this, how you finish or take your opportunities, or how productively quick you are at taking them can skew stats, right? Because you look at that and you say, the Highlanders, dominated possession and territory and that sort of thing. Yeah, but that's because they were sitting there pounding away for ages on defensive lines. And, you got to give credit to the Chiefs on that, because they just withheld all that pressure. Whereas when they got their chances, it's like, bang, a few phases, chop, over they go, done. And then they're happy just to go, well, what have you got back, right? You just sit here and chop away until you make an error, and then we'll just work our way back. So the way the game played out really, I think, skewed the stats a lot more. The Highlanders, you look, even defenders beaten, you look at that and go, Highlanders just about beat twice as many defenders. But in actual fact, I guarantee probably half of them were in that last 10 minutes. And the fact doesn't matter is cover defense makes a massive difference, because you can easily transition a beaten defender but not make a line break or a clean break, as they call it. So they lost on the clean breaks but doubled almost the defenders beaten. So the Highlanders were beating that initial hit, but they weren't managing to actually make a full-on line break. And that in transition, you're not making that full line break, so you're going to ground after your second, third defender. You're making 2 or 3 meters. You're not really making the inroads that defenders beaten tell you probably are. So stats don't really tell the full tale of this one, I don't reckon.
No, I think one thing that there will be some sore bodies in Hamilton, but I think Clay McMillan will be happy with the fact that 243 tackles were made here. They put in a lot of work to get this win.
Wow.
At the end of the day, whereas only 67 tackles by the Highlanders. Sure, they did miss another 23. On top of that, so their percentage wasn't very good. But yeah. So massive shift there. And you do wonder to a certain, and from memory, I think the Chiefs have done this before. You kind of wonder how long before their bodies start to break down, if they're going to be if they're going to be doing that many tackles every single week. You compare that to someone like the Hurricanes, who 143. So still a chunk there actually, but not the 243. So an extra 100 tackles there. Your bodies. So just a quick look on who the main guys were. I was going to say the chief guys. Jeez, that's just bad use of words there. But Bradley Slater at hooker, 21 tackles. Luke Jacobson, 21 tackles as well. Finau, 18. Those guys, that's a lot of work they've been through there. And you think that Slater probably came off for Thompson, who came on and did another 9 tackles as well. Slater spent his whole time just getting smashed or smashing people. in that one. And Mackenzie's still sore in the ribs. Well, yes. There's that side of things as well. But I mean, Cortez Rattimer missed 6 tackles. He's the most missed. But I think we said the other week, if your scrum half is making lots of tackles, you've got a problem, right? He shouldn't be making 11 tackles, right? That's not what you have a scrum half for. So yes. So a little bit of a problem there, I think. And you're in that. So yeah, your scrum half shouldn't be making 11 tackles, or trying to make 17 tackles in a game. That shows you've got something wrong somewhere in your defensive line, I think.
I think too, if you talked about the Hurricanes before as well, about that game against the Rebels. And I think this here, we look at this, right? And I look at that Hurricanes game. And the Hurricanes will be, I think, sure, great, happy about the result. But they're also going to be very happy with the fact that they've rested a lot of their key players.
Yep.
They've had a nice little week off. And now we look at the Chiefs, who, sure, the Rebels and the Highlanders, probably not the same sort of challenge what you're more likely to rest against, but the Chiefs have not rested any of their key guys, if my memory is not mistaken, especially like your Mackenzie's. They've rotated. They've got good scrum halves, so they've rotated those guys through, but they really are relying on a lot of their guys, and they're putting out their best players. I know it's only, 5 rounds in, but when you look at now what the Hurricanes are doing, and it's like, whoo, okay, now they look like they've got options, they've got depth in that. You look at this Chiefs team, and you're like, if a couple of these players go down, do they have that depth? But in terms of that, though, you have to say Alcoy off the bench was incredible. He made a massive impact on that game, just with his, not only his running with ball in hand, but also his ruck work. Just as soon as he come on, he changed the game for the Chiefs. He added a lot of power, a lot of spark, and he was just everywhere. He was a real nuisance for the Highlanders. So, the depth is there. I just wonder, is there a day soon where Ioane's going to have to start over Mackenzie at 10? Are we going to see? Yeah, but you know what I mean, though. Like,
I agree.
Is he not part of this All Black protocol resting crap, Mackenzie? That surely he's got to rest out 2 or 3 games. So it's got to happen. I mean, who else do you put there? They don't have a huge amount of other options, do they? Like, surely Ioane's had a good season. Although you say, oh dear, he's actually looked really good off the bench.
Yes,
that pains everyone to say.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I say oh dear as well, but he's kind of been all right. But it's got to happen. And to me, do it now. Do it now when he's getting game time. He's actually kind of blended into match fitness and he's kind of working with the team. Don't wait for later when it's like, oh dear, Mackenzie's just, he's going to be out for 6 weeks. Here you go, son. You got to play your next 6 games. You got to play the full 80. So,
well, yes, except
I think the Chiefs.
The Chiefs heading out to Christchurch next weekend, so I think we'll keep Mackenzie for that one. Thank you. Rest
them. Rest them. They're bottom of the table on 5. Rest them.
So actually, but on that point about the Hurricanes was, look, they're the only undefeated team in this competition. And it's kind of like, well, how real is that? Because has their schedule been easy? I mean, because we talked about the Brumbies, right? The Brumbies have only played one top 8 team pretty much so far. So I wanted to have a quick look at that. I was going to talk about that later, but we'll throw it in now as you brought up the whole kind of thing about that. So the Hurricanes season so far, round 1 they beat the Force. They had the Reds in Super Rugby in the Super Round over in Melbourne, but since then they've had the Blues, the Crusaders, and then also then the Rebels. So look, the Blues and Crusaders, 2 teams you expect to be at the top end there, and probably the Reds as well. We've been talking about how well they've actually been playing decent. So look, it's not been a overly hard opening 5 rounds, but it's also not been a particularly easy one either. I mean, it could have been a lot harder if you put in Blues, Chiefs, Brumbies, and thrown a few of those sort of teams. It could have been harder, but also they could have also had Moana Pacifica, Fijian and Drua at home, and so forth like that. So it could have been an easier one as well. So no, I think it's a fair reflection. I wouldn't say that this is a reflection of their schedule. I think it's a reflection of how they're playing. I think it's a fair reflection of that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, I think this season is not really as we were kind of expecting with the teams you're coming up against. I think on their day, well, as we kind of seen, a lot of these teams, even the Western Force, Queensland, are capable of knocking just about anyone off. Like we said when we spoke about picks for this weekend.
Well,
But
I think all the teams are playing good rugby. Even Moana Pacifica, Rebels, and the Force, they're playing some good rugby there. Whether they can knock anybody off, I think it's a different ballgame. But in previous years, we've looked at some of those teams and gone, actually, you know what? They're playing some exciting, silly rugby, but now they're actually playing proper rugby, which I think is good for. But it's good that all the teams have got proper structure, and they've got some proper rugby in their locker.
I also think this Hurricanes team is kind of maybe their lack of experience of leading a table, or maybe it's that they're actually got a bit more of a composed head about the fact that they are leading the table. Resting that team for that game against the Rebels was quite a risky thing to do, but possibly in the fact that they're like, well, we're top, we haven't lost yet, we can afford to drop 1 or 2 games to a shock. We shouldn't really lose this game, but we've got to get these guys in game time. Do we risk it now, or do we risk it for potentially a worse opportunity later on? So whether it's smarts from the coaching staff in terms of just a game plan they may have had, or whether they're taking this opportunity and going, hey, we didn't expect to be here, so let's make the most of it and we can afford to drop a game or two, right? I mean, they probably expected to have lost at least 1 game by now, somewhere along the way. So wherever it would have been, who knows? And now they got that luxury of going, hey, we haven't dropped that game yet. Let's keep the team fresh and try and keep our team 100% for the latter parts of this competition. And hey, bang, what a game they had too. So in terms of freshness of performances, they deserve to be top. And they kind of look set better than most other teams in this competition.
Yep, they're going well. I think Laidlaw, the new head coach there, coming from a Sevens background, we're definitely people are thinking, why are you putting him in there he's not got 15s, but hey, so far, you can't fault what he's been doing. Nocturnal writes, was Ardy the Hurricanes' problem? Laugh. Well, look, you're laughing at the end there. Ardy is a fantastic player that would improve any team. What you might have seen, though, previously, is that other players look to him rather than actually doing it themselves. And I think there's a few now. Look, players like Cam Roygard, Brett Cameron, a couple more years in, so hence maybe they would have taken more on their shoulders anyway. But by not having Ardy there, they have to take control, right? They have to run the game. They don't have. They can't. You can't look at Ardy and go, Ardy, what are we doing? No, and I think from that point of view, was he a problem from a playing point of view? No, hell no. Was he a problem potentially the fact that he was just too good for everyone else? Maybe, from that point of view. But yes. All right, let's move on then to a game that just Blues versus Crusaders, 26-6. Run meters, 665 by the Blues, 196 by the Crusaders. To put that into context here, the Melbourne Rebels got 520 against the Hurricanes, where they lost by 20 points. The Moana Pacifica against the Brumbies, they lost by 40 points. They still run the ball 324 meters. The Crusaders, 196. I can't remember the last time I've seen a scoreboard, a stats sheet where a team has, unless both teams have had next to nothing and they've just kicked all game because it's so wet. I have never seen a stat sheet where one side has had quite so few run meters compared to the other. That is abysmal by the Crusaders. To me, this is perhaps their worst kind of performance, or the worst kind of they've had so far this season. With that, there, sure they've had other losses, but to me, to 196 meters with only 6 points, this is not good for the Crusaders. It's harder to see the silver linings now, I think.
What silver linings are those? Because I don't really see any of them at all anymore. And Nocturnal, if you're going to write that and not put a lol at the end of that one, but you put at the end of Ardy at the Hurricanes, I mean, you've got to put lol at both end of those.
Okay, sorry. For our podcast, let's pass this. Nocturnal Rights has written, Amua has stepped up. Lol. He did put
the lol.
Amua, unfortunately, has been mistreated or misused so far.
Something's not right.
Something's. He does not fit in the style of play or the style the Crusaders are trying to play. He is a square peg for a round hole. He is a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
One of my favourite players in world active players in World Rugby at the moment. But he really does not fit in that system. It's just not working. Two passes, 3 carries. Now, admittedly, with 3 carries, he still became the 3rd highest run gainer out of the entire team with 18. Filikai got 51. But yeah, he's catching them at the back with space to run in kick returns, right? The only other person who got more run meters was Hannah with 21, but with 10 runs. So again, Levi Moore dreadfully underused, massively underused again, and is just it just does not fit this whatever the game plan is. It doesn't. He doesn't fit it, unfortunately for him, because we know how destructive he can be. Sorry, Ram.
We might have to give him a pass, Mark, because he said he was talking about Levi Armour or not. Oh, sorry, he's talking about software armor or not Levi Armour. So he might go on the pass mark on that one. Because yes, that would be accurate then. That would be accurate.
I'll rephrase that. There is only one Amua in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Everyone else has had to have 2 names. He's the only person who has 1 name.
Yeah, exactly. You only have 1. Look, first half, someone said at the chat there it was absolutely horrible. It was sleep-inducing. So if you're having trouble sleeping tonight, just go watch the replay of the first half of this game, because it was abysmal from both teams. And look, the stats, you said about how they made like less than 200 running meters, and Fiaki scored 51. So that's 25% of your run meters right there, looking at those stats, which I think you just said. That bewilders me something incredibly, because the Crusaders were just, yes, halftime, what was it, 9-6, I think it was, at halftime. Yeah. They were in that game, but you still couldn't quite understand how, because they never really looked like they're going to contribute much to this game throughout it really at all. And the Blues completely took over. I mean, you've got to credit the Blues this one in the second half, how much they changed their game plan and just turned this game completely on its head. They just, attacking wise, they look, I don't want to say this, but they crusaded the Crusaders. Just grind down a team in the first half, and in the second half, just absolutely bullied them and destroyed them, wrecked them, cut them in a million pieces, and made them look like they're absolute amateurs. That's the Crusaders' performance almost in structure of the past 7 years, but it's by a team in blue, which would be of most insulting to the Crusaders fans completely. So, yeah, I mean, credit to the Blues. I think they stood up well. I think they played very well in that second half. They looked like a team, as much as I don't like Perifeta, I thought he was very good at breaking the line and taking the line on. And they got good production now. There's those forwards as well, as much as, they're not my favorites in a Blues jersey at all. But, boy, the Crusaders just look out of their depth, out of their league. They don't look like they've got a plan that's going to work. They don't look like they want to buy into the plan. They don't look like they know the plan fully. And they just look like they're in the wrong place. They want to go home, back to the NPC.
Now, let me go. I'm sorry. I don't think the Blues played well in this game. I'm wearing a Blues jersey.
Second half.
Right.
Second half.
They still only got 2 tries. They didn't get a try bonus points. How can you dominate a game like this and not come away with a try bonus point? I'm sorry, but that's just 11 clean breaks and you score 2 tries. So, no, you're making far too many errors. 20 turnovers to only 12 by the Crusaders. Now, the Crusaders didn't have the ball to turn it over. But even so, 20, 13 penalties conceded, and you're always on the tack. The whole point is you concede penalties on defense. They gave up more penalties than the Crusaders. Sorry, they did not play well. Sure, they won this game. They should have won this game by 50 points. The amount of ball they had and the territory they had, where they were on the pitch, they should have actually. No, they did not play. They did not do what other teams have done here. If you give those stats and you put a O'Toole in there or a Brumbies player, the Brumbies scored 60-odd points with that, or 56 points with those stats. The Blues did not play well.
Do you know why the Blues didn't score 60 points in that game?
Go on then.
Because they played the Crusaders. Do you know how much of a mental stop this is for the Blues? Do you know how much the Blues were more determined and worried about winning this game than anything else? They could have won this game 7-6 and they wouldn't have cared. They could have dominated the stats 80% on anything. This was a huge game for the Blues. Doesn't matter how bad the Crusaders have been. To beat the Crusaders for the Blues is a massive achievement. They wrecked that second. Sure, they should have scored more tries. I don't disagree with you there. But the fact of how well they dominated that second half and controlled it and shut the Crusaders completely out. Sure, they should have got 4, 5, 6 maybe tries. But conditions were pretty average as well in that game. It wasn't great for running rugby. But I just think the fact of the matter is that they were in control. They were dominating in the right areas. They were keeping the Crusaders at bay. And they were beating the Crusaders. Like, they could look up a scoreboard and always say is, you're up. It doesn't matter what the score is. You're winning. You know, that they could just change that scoreboard to say Blues more, Crusaders less. And that's all they really care about. I think mentally, like that first half, just the fact that they took that lead into the first half, those interviews at halftime, the Blues were wrapped. They were absolutely stoked because they're up. They're up over the Crusaders at halftime. Great time. They're going to halftime. They'll be buoyed by that. They got that go-ahead 3 points. I think mentally, that was a massive victory for the Blues, just getting the W, whether it's 1 point, 20 points, 50 points. Sure, performance-wise, they should have scored more, but they passed that mental stop that, let's be honest, they should have had no trouble with. But I just think that was a huge part of that game for the Blues.
Now, yeah, true. A bit like Scotland. When we talk about Scotland playing teams.
Yeah.
But look, mentally, you're right. I mean, look, why do the Blues not have a title recently? Because the Crusaders come up and beat them in their own backyard, right? So I agree. There is a mental thing here, and to have won this game, but they've beaten the Crusaders in regular season already previously. So again, if they come across the Crusaders come the playoffs, I would not be overly confident about the mental state of this Blues team to beat them. Put bluntly, because I'd say yes, they won this game, but they should have won it much more comfortably on the scoreboard than they actually did, in my opinion. Some questions then around the Crusaders. Will they go 6-0? Well, they're playing the Chiefs next.
Yeah, it's Chiefs.
So that's a yes, they will go 6-0. But we had that question earlier. When is their first win going to come? Let's do a quick look then. So the Chiefs next, away to the Waratahs, away to the Force. If they don't pick up away to the
Waratahs. Haven't they already lost to the Waratahs?
Yes, that was in Super Round in Melbourne.
So they're playing the Waratahs twice.
They're playing the Waratahs twice, yes.
I thought we only played derby games twice.
Two or three derby games are anyway. Stop trying to
stupid. Just make it simple.
Understand the format of the competition and just enjoy the games. It's just not worth it. So they've already lost the Waratahs in Melbourne. So that's not an easy game for them. But there will be revenge there. I don't know if that helps or not. The Force over in Perth, that's not an easy game. Now, they can win that one. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the Force at home. They'll win every time. The Force away, though, teams don't like flying 5 hours to Perth for some reason. I don't know what it is. I've never been there. Maybe the air's a bit different.
It's hot. It's hot and humid and yuck.
And then they have the Rebels at home. If they can't beat the Rebels at home,
that'll be it.
Then that's when he gets sacked. I'm sorry, but if they don't have a win by round, which round is that then? By round 8. Jesus Christ.
That's Nocturnal, I'm not a smart cookie. It doesn't take much to confuse me, buddy.
To me, he will. Over the next 3 rounds, he has to get. Next round he'll lose, but the 3 rounds after that, he has to get a win. Be that Waratahs away, Force away, or Rebels at home. Otherwise, I think he's gone. Now, is it all Coach Penny's fault? No, it's not. He's on his 5th or whatever it is choice fly half, who doesn't know anyone in the team yet. He's like a week and a half with the team. And that's the most pivotal position, as we know, out of any player, right? Now, to be fair, Reece Pratchell's looking pretty decent down at the Highlanders, and he doesn't know those guys down there well either. But at least he's had a pre-season with them. So you don't need forever, but you do need some time with your team. And let's be honest, Reece Pratchell is a ex-capped international. Hohepa is a fringe a fringe squad backup warm-up player.
Be nice.
There's a difference.
Be
Okay.
nice.
No, I'm trying to. I'm not saying I'm not being nasty, but I'm just saying what he is. He is not a. He's not a 20 capped international player like Reece Pratchell is, right? He does not have that experience to come into this. The Rebels score tries though. That is true because yes, having a quick look at some team stats on the old Super Rugby, on the Super Rugby website, the team that scores the most tries, the Reds, even ahead of the Hurricanes, surprisingly. The team that scores the fewest tries, the Crusaders. The Crusaders have scored 10 tries so far. Next comes the Waratahs and Moana with 15. They are 50% behind. The other two teams are 50% ahead of them. That is a big, and they really have not got their attacking game going at all.
The Crusaders also have the most yellow cards in the tournament as well.
Yep, there is. Yeah, it doesn't help if you don't have an entire. It's only 5. Actually, it's 1 a game, isn't it? Would you be confident in any of the Crusaders fixtures the rest of the season? Yes, they've got good players there, and particularly when they get a fly half back fit, right? If they get Fergus Burke back, I'm very confident they will be a very different team. Very different. He knows these players. It's his. He came into this. Well, okay, he didn't come into the season but because he was injured. But he basically he was basically knew this is my team next year. So to me, not right. Crusaders need to speed up their ruck ball to have a chance to beat teams. They're not going to speed up the ruck ball when they're disjointed in an attack, with the guy taking it in and not having the cleaners ready. And that's part of the problem there is that it's disjointed before the ruck, never mind the actual ruck itself. Crusaders seem like Leicester or Sale. I don't watch much Premiership rugby anymore. Can you help me with that one, Steve?
Not so much, but you got to go on the sides of can't attack for cheese. Because look, the Crusaders for me, that's their biggest problem. Look, I think they got their forward pack is decent. I think the back row really carries a lot of their weight and their pressure of that team on their shoulders. But when they have the ball, they just don't really look like scoring. And Sevu Reece is doing more damage control than he's doing damage with ball in hand. So, and you kind of you're taking off your biggest weapon who's running around the field like a headless chicken trying to save the team. I think that's their biggest issue. It's just scoring and looking like scoring. And I guess you're probably right. That comes down to your team not putting your forwards in good positions, not putting your team in good positions, and not putting your backs on good ball from that position he gets it, right? He's not giving you good transition through your forwards to your backs. But I think the game plan's a bit off too. I said it right from round 1. I watched that opening game of the Crusaders. I'm like, the backs just look completely like they're at sea. They look like they don't know what the plan is. They're getting the ball flat-footed, saying, you take this hit up. You know, it's just there's no continuity. There's no seamless movements. Players aren't moving in motion with each other. They're not they're not doing the old, well, they call it the old seesaw and the old waves that goes crashing on each side. They're just jagged and broken. So shocking. Sort that out. Score
they did one good thing this game. They returned to a heritage jersey that looks good. Other than this, that was the Blues heritage jersey. Horrible. I'm sorry, but yes, I know. I get where it's coming from. I know why it's that style, but I don't like it. Okay, but the Crusaders heritage jersey much better than their current jersey. The Blues current jersey is better with that one. Mighty is Leicester without Pollard are like a fish out of water. The ball's static and very easy to predict. Yes, That's exactly what you're seeing with the Crusaders right at the moment. Is they've got a scrum, they've got a fly half who's been with them for a week and a half and just does not know anyone else around there. Having 4 or 5 injured fly halves is a problem at the moment. Balance loose forward is wrong. No ball player amongst us 3 starting. Maybe there are other issues as well there, but until they fix the fly half one, it's going to be a problem for them. Crusaders
Well,
were bye after the Chiefs game. Oh, sorry, I missed that out. Yeah, it doesn't show that on my schedule. But so even more then, if you've got 2 weeks to prepare for Waratahs away, you should be winning that game.
My big question: what's happened to Mitch Drummond? Willie Hines makes me want to just spew. He should not be starting in this team. You want to talk about you're putting more emphasis on your trouble areas, which is your halves. He's not experienced. He's not good. He's old. He's slow. Is Mitch Drummond injured?
He is experienced. He might not be good, but he is experienced.
He's not. He's trash. Put him in the bin.
I'm not saying. I say he might not be good, but he's experienced.
Send him to Scotland with Finley.
But also look, if you're going to lose more than half your lineouts, again, it doesn't matter what your halves do.
That's true. I just don't like Willie Hines.
So let's just move on from this one. I'm surprised they've gone with Willie Hines. I don't understand why he's come back and they've taken him. I
did say it was a good thing that they did sign Johnny McNichol though, because at least coming from Scarlets, he's used to losing. So he's fitting right in.
They already have experienced scrum halves, right? They don't need him there for experience because they've got Drummond there. So I don't understand why.
Exactly.
It's a strange one. Okay, then. Force versus the Reds. Somehow the Force win this by running the ball less than the Reds and by having the ball less than the Reds. Why? To me, scoreboard pressure. Again, the Force go out, a bit like the Chiefs, go out to, and people might go, what the fuck, Paul? You're comparing the Force to the Chiefs? Well, yes. They went out to a 21-0 lead here, right? They got themselves well ahead at 28-5 at half time, and that made the Reds again do things a bit like the Highlands were having to do that they didn't want to do to try and catch up the game. They couldn't take your threes. Not that Liner could actually hit the side of a barn in this game, but with his kicking, unfortunately. But the Reds were having to chase it from then onwards. And so, to me, Willie Hines' team went bankrupt. That doesn't mean That doesn't mean the Crusaders should sign him. I don't care why he was available. I'm just saying they shouldn't have taken him. The Force get themselves out ahead, and then they can play the scoreboard pressure game against the Reds, even though the Reds had more ball than they did, they're both sides set piece didn't quite function like they wanted to, but the Force don't turn the ball over. Only 9 times. The Reds 17 as they're forcing to chase this game. Another one where the referee put his whistle in the pocket. Only 13 penalties in this game. Well done, Force. Good start, and then good game management.
Yeah, really good game management, right? They just kept them at arm's length, didn't they? So anything you do, we can just do straight back to you. The thing that most was pivotal about this game for the Force is when they conceded, they typically found a way to strike straight back. And they did that through a stupid error. Why are we raging on me? A stupid error from
because I'm going to the toilet.
The Reds. Okay, you go for it. No, you're good. So for me, this was a case of silly errors from the Reds, right? Especially from the kickoffs. We've seen a lot of times, Harry Wilson dropping a couple kickoff balls. They throw an intercept to Bailey Kunzel straight off the kickoff as well. There was a number of occasions during this game that the Reds could have taken control of this match. They could have turned the tables and consecutively built up a bit of pressure through scoring, but will make a stupid error on their 22, lose possession, and go straight back to conceding points again. So the Reds really, really weren't anywhere near their best on this game whatsoever. But still, it's but I agree. Paul, you should put a bottle under your desk, then you don't have to worry about this sort of stuff in future. But credit to the Force here. Bailey Kunzel on the wing. I saw this at the start of the weekend, and I thought, what are they thinking by doing that? Because a man typically known for his work in the 10s and the 12s, doing that sort of job was just incredibly bizarre for me. But hey, I've got to credit that. Ben Donaldson, Nick White played an incredible match. They look really, really difficult to stop. They look really hard. They talked a lot about Sam Spink coming back into this Force lineup before the matchup, which typically not a man I really looked to be a massive disruptor. But he had a big part of this game too on the outside of Hamish Stewart. So really did step it up. Experienced players stood up. Look, if you get out to a good start and you have the ability to capitalize when your opponents don't take advantage after they score, then you're going to pay the price. And you can't bring yourself back into a game if every time you score 7, you concede 7 straight away. So a man that's been incredible, and Harry Wilson, I think, had a shocker. He had his worst night in a Reds jumper this season by far. But overall, I look at it and go, the Reds still look really, really good. They still scored, 5 tries in that game? So they still have the capabilities. They've just got to clean up a lot of silly disciplinary areas, especially those kickoffs. Dude, you've got to secure your kickoff and you've got to exit at least your 22, right? If you can do that, you're going to look a bit more better off for it. So, yeah, I think silly errors and good work from the Force to actually capitalize on their advantages. They took their chances really, really well. But to me, Nick White, Ben Donaldson, best games in a Force jersey far. And I'm not a Ben Donaldson fan at all. I thought he was really, really, really good, which just goes and makes that number 10 jumper even harder for the Wallabies.
Look, this is part of the other thing of this Force team is how many players they brought in into starting positions and getting to gel, right? Because White and Donaldson haven't played together beforehand, and you're asking them to run the show. So to give them also off the back of Harris, who I think I'm not sure if there's a Harris-White connection, whether he's played with him as well. So you're 8. So that whole that whole decision-making group are new, getting used to each other. So we should see them improving during the season and getting more of these kind of results from this team, I think. So I think good sign for the Force going forwards, but not the end of the world for the Reds, because chasing a game when you're that far behind, you're going to be in trouble. So they just need to know that they have to actually just keep in touch at the end of the day.
I mean, the Reds certainly showed that they've got the capabilities, right? There was no question about that. We'll see if they can score points. To me, this is just these silly errors. Whatever their error stats were of turnovers. I mean, way more turnovers, 17-9. So made a lot more errors. Hey, look, lost more lineouts. So, we always go back to the lineouts. You can't win your lineouts, you're not going to win the game. But no, to me, it was the errors. The fact that they gave away 3 tries off kickoffs after scoring themselves, that was pretty much a dagger in the heart for me for the Reds. But they fought back well and they didn't give up. But I've got to just all the credit to the Western Force. And they didn't look. Western Force didn't get up at the end either, right? And the Reds were really pushing hard for that bonus point, which could have been, obviously any point is critical. They shut them out of that as well. So really, the Western Force, they should take massive confidence, and hey, they should be turning Perth into Fiji. You come to Perth. Sure, okay, we come to your house, we probably kick our ass, but you come to our house, and we know if we win our home games, we could be really in the push for these top 8 spots. Sure, we won't get one of them at home afterwards, but we can really make you pay if your fixture list says Perth.
So Nocturne writes, Schmidt into a lower error rate. I think, does that bode well for Harry Potter? I think he has something. For Nocturne writes, we've seen lots of errors out of Harry Potter earlier in the season. I'm not convinced that he is the answer at 15 when you've got sorry.
He's got a lot better. Like from round 1 to this round, he's a lot better than he was. First game he played was horrific.
But when you've got I've gone blank as the guy at the Rebels,
Callaway.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but no, there's it's night and day as to who I would have on that one.
Harry Potter can't catch a cold over the try line.
I
think, hey, look, give him the whole season, and I think he'll be a much improved player. Good enough internationally? I mean, he's going to have to improve a lot. But I still think long-term wise, it certainly could be in that mix. But the Wallabies have a lot of good outside backs, right? That are going to fill those roles. Because he can play on the wings. I'm more intrigued as where they're going to go this year with like the Vunivalus and guys like that. But you've got a lot of guys that can cover your Yeah, a lot of your Wallabies wings and fullbacks are very similar, like your Callaways, your Wrights and guys like that. They can cover both of them. So what sort of mix they're going to go with does intrigue me. But I think the depth is certainly good enough that I think in future he'll be an option for them. But I think he needs a couple of seasons of Super Rugby under his belt to really get going.
Yeah, not this year. Kellaway, Wright, Toole, all springs to mind before him at the end of the day. Do you think the Crusaders will make the top 8? I still say yes. I don't know why.
Really?
All the facts say no, especially when we say they're going to lose next week as well. And we're thinking of them having one win in the first half of the season. They shouldn't. No. But I'm just so indoctrinated that I just can't see a world where Crusaders don't. I mean, the Matrix says that the Crusaders always make the top 8. So, look, if it was top 6, I might start thinking about it. But top 8, surely they're going to do it. I mean, they've got to. I mean, as soon as Fergus Burke comes back, and sure, I'm putting a lot of weight on one guy's shoulders. I agree there. But no, it just does not compute. It's a 404 error if you say that the world has gone wrong if the Crusaders don't make the top 8. It just doesn't. We'll have to see. But yeah, I just still can't see it being that. But let's just quickly sum up. Actually, no, Stephen. I mean, can you see a world where the Crusaders don't?
I can see a world where they don't make the 8. Yeah, I can definitely see a world where they don't make it. But I think their season comes down to not games against the Chiefs, not games against the Brumbies or the Blues or the Hurricanes or any of those teams. Their season comes down to playing Moana, Rebels, Force, and that game against the Waratahs again. Their second fixture. Why? Against the Waratahs. That's my key ones to me. Typically, yeah, those 4. Yeah, Rebels, Moana, Waratahs, and Force. If they can't beat 2 of those, geez, if they can't beat 3 of those guys, no.
I think they have to be all of them, to be honest. But let's just run through.
I agree.
Their fixtures from here on out. They got the Chiefs, which we knew was going to be hard. Then they have that run of 3 against, or no, actually 4 games. Waratahs, Force away, Rebels, Reds at home. Those that against 4 Australian teams, and I hate to use that cliche, but that's where they have to make up some points and some ground. Then it goes Highlanders and Brumbies away before they have the Blues and Moana Pacifica at home. That Moana Pacifica game is coming too late.
I see 3 wins in that.
You see 3 wins in that. Then they're not making the top 8.
Good.
Surely.
Good.
Last year, to make the top 8, you needed 5 wins.
The problem is with the season for the Crusaders, though, is that the other teams down the bottom are winning games, right? Okay, the Force are winning games now. The Waratahs are winning games. Moana's winning games. They're getting bonus points, right? Okay, game, sure. But you know what I mean? Like the Rebels are in 7th. You know? They have no right to be 7th. They shouldn't be up that far, right? So
we look at last year. In 8th place, the Reds had 5 wins and 4 bonus points. The Highlanders in 9th had 5 wins and 4 bonus points. The Force 5 wins and 2 bonus points. Then 4 wins to the Rebels with 5 bonus points, and Moana Pacifica 1 win and 4 bonus points. So you're going to need so 8th to 10th all had 5 wins. They're going to need at least 5 wins, to my mind. And you've found 3 so far in there, which says they ain't going through. But as I say, that just doesn't make sense to me. As much as logic might say so, I'm being a bit like a Trump supporter here, going that reality doesn't exist. I can't see how the Crusaders don't get through. It just doesn't. I'm just so indoctrinated and brainwashed that I just can't see it. But all the facts say, yeah, the Crusaders are in a real sticky situation here, and it's not guaranteed.
I think a big game for them is going to be that Highlanders game. Although that might be too late for them to make the 8. I think it will be too late.
That game against Waratahs away is a big game for them.
I just think hey, next weekend is a big game.
No. As you say, the Chiefs game's gone, right? That's not what it matters. 2 week run up to an away game against the Waratahs, if they can't put something together in that 2 weeks for that specific game, then stuff's really, really a problem.
Yeah, I think they need to start winning at that Waratahs game. When you put it down to the fixes you've put it down to, they need to win that Waratahs game. They need to beat the Force in Perth. They need to beat the Rebels back here, I think you said. And then they've got the Highlanders in there as well. And
no, they've got the Reds at home is after the but if they get on a run of 3 wins, that Reds game
4.
they win. Yeah.
Then they're in the conversation. So really, you're going to cut these seasons down to they got to come next 4 weeks, I guess 3 games to got that bye. So they got to beat the Waratahs, the Force, and then the Rebels.
So Simon says the Crusaders not making top 8 is like the capitalism not existing. I can't see that happening. Bolt Turner writes, capitalism didn't exist 250 years ago, Simon. There was a time before.
It's not the first time the Crusaders would have finished last.
No, it won't be. It wouldn't be. The Reds haven't won in Christchurch since 1999. Ouch. Wow. They haven't won there this century. So let's have a look at the table anyway. The Force have just announced they've signed Sam Carter with immediate effect. There we go.
Good pickup.
Well done, Force. Anyway, let's run through then the table. So at the top there, we've got the Hurricanes, 5 wins from their 5 games, but only 2 try bonus points. A bit surprising there, considering that they're the second highest try scorer in. They're the highest try scorer team in this. I thought it was the Reds. Sorry, second highest after the Reds. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Next up, then you've got 3 teams with 4 wins in the Chiefs, the Brumbies, and the Blues. The Blues have only got 1 bonus point. The other 2 have 2 in that one. Then you come to the Queensland Reds with 3 wins and 2 losses, sitting on 2 points behind the Blues. And then a bit of a gap really down to the Highlanders because they're 11 points. They're 4 points behind the Reds. Also, the Reds are the last team that have a positive points difference. Right, the top 5 teams have positive points difference. Everyone else has negative. So there is a bit of a split there between the Reds and those beneath them. But then it goes Highlanders on 11 points, Melbourne Rebels on 10, the Drua and Moana Pacifica on 9 and 9. The Drua being the last team, the 8th team, so the last team in that playoffs. 7 points for the Tars, 5 for the Force with that first win of the season for them, and 2 points for the Crusaders. Ouch. We've never seen this before, folks. This is a new reality for us here. On that one, and as someone's pointed out here, that it's the ability of the Crusaders to score points that's their problem. They've scored 79 points. They are the lowest point scorer. Next is the Western Force with 121 points. So that's 42 points more than the Crusaders. So more than 50% more. Points against, the Crusaders are only allowed 130. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams have allowed more points. So defensively, the Crusaders are still there. Attacking wise, it's just not working. So from that point of view, it is on attack. Again, scored 10, tries 4-10, which we talked about before, but they've only allowed in 13 tries. The only other team that's allowed in less tries than them is the Blues with 11. They've got the second best defense as far as tries against goes. So the reviewers come out with the exact same stat as I've just done. So defensively they're there. It's about which actually gives them a basis to work off, is one way of looking at it. If there's your silver lining. I found it at last. But as I say, it's very hard to find it at the moment for the Crusaders. So that's the table there, folks. So the Fijian and Drua. So your top 8: Canes, Chiefs, Brumbies, Blues, Reds, Landers, Rebels, and Drua. A couple of names in there you might not have expected. In the Rebels, Drua were obviously on the edge. Then Moana, Waratahs, Force, and Crusaders outside of that top 8. Any comments on the table? So I know I've just ranted and not let you talk.
No, you've been spitting the facts, right? No, you pretty much nailed it, really. Look, it's pretty much what we probably expected from the teams, especially that top five. That top five is, you'd say, yep, they've been the best teams in the competition so far. No one's, those guys probably, well, they deserve to have that little bit of a buffer from the teams below them. I'm kind of surprised the Highlanders are sitting as well as they are. If you have to guess the way they're playing, I mean, I'm quite chuffed that they're sitting there in sixth place. A couple of wins, 3 losses. Not fantastic, but you look at the last couple of games, you may say, could have been better from them. They've definitely got a lot to work on, and to be sitting in that position where they are now is going to be huge for them in the coming weeks. But yeah, Rebels really good. Highlanders and Rebels are my surprise. Clearly, obviously, from the start of the season, the Crusaders are the big shock. But you look at that and you go, okay, I'm looking at this top 8, and I see, from what you'd expect early, right, the Crusaders are the only big shock. That you probably swap the Rebels. You probably go, put the Crusaders in that top 8, the Rebels out of it, and it's pretty much what you'd probably expect. We always said it was going to be the Reds or the Waratahs. The Reds have proven to be quite a bit better than we expected at the start of the season. Waratahs obviously losing out that spot. So on that regard of things, to only have one team wrong of preseason predictions at this point for your top 8, I'm quite with that. And as a Highlanders watcher of interest, it's gone pretty well so far. So far, so good. Keep those bonus points rocking in. That's going to be key, I think, for those middle places. I don't see, honestly, those bottom 3 toppling over those top 5. I think those top 5 are going to battle for those top 5 spots, and that battle will be 4 and 5 because home and someone not at home, right? And that's who's going to play each other as well. So as of right now, the Blues in Auckland, or you're playing, Blues Reds, is it in Auckland? Is it in Queenstown? That's Queensland, I should say. That's a big difference maker of one position. So still very early days, but that sort of situation is saying it's going to be a massive focus for those top 5 teams going on through. But I think overall, I don't think too many teams should be too disappointed outside of the Crusaders. The Western Force is certainly within punching distance of a season they've expected to do very, very little. So, so far, as expected, Hurricanes just keep those Chiefs down the table.
I think actually the thing that, to me, a bit surprised me is the lack of bonus points of teams. After 5 games, Hurricanes, Chiefs, Brumbies all got 2, Blues 1. Only the Reds, Highlanders, and Tars have got 3 bonus points. The Tars, a lot of close losses, and hence the 3 losing bonus points. But only 2 try bonus points for the Hurricanes, Brumbies, and Reds. The Chiefs, 1 try bonus point at this point. You're like, that's a bit of a surprise to me, actually. So it's the question mark actually here is, maybe bonus points aren't going to be the differentiator. Maybe it is going to be actual wins. Get your wins on the board. That might be the important thing, rather than those bonus points, or even just points difference might be more important than bonus points. We'll see. Interest. So yes. So whilst the Rebels are sitting pretty there in 7th at minus 60 points difference, they've got the worst points difference in the competition, even worse than the Crusaders. Because yes, they are scoring points. They're also leaking points as well, with the worst defence in the league. But hey, they've got the wins on the board, and I think wins is what might be the big thing here. The reviewer says games are a bit more competitive this season. Absolutely, as we've said, there are teams here that you go, yeah, they're not going to knock over the Hurricanes or Chiefs, but they are going to play proper rugby. They're going to be structured. They're not just going to fall apart. So. The level of the level at the bottom has gone up definitely. Now, is the top where it used to be? Maybe it's. Look, it's a post Rugby World Cup year. We've got a whole bunch of teams that that have lost players. Hey, the Crusaders that aren't at the level they were at. But the bottom has definitely lifted up, and hence it's closed the gap this year. Let's look forward then to next season. Next season? No. Let's try next week, shall we? Let's just deal with next week for now.
2025, let's go.
So, first up then, opening round Friday at 7 p.m. Crusaders versus the Chiefs. Which way are you going, Steve?
So we'll be going for a home win. No, just kidding. On the road, Chiefs. I'm intrigued to see how the Chiefs are going to deal with this one. I'm intrigued to see their selection for their team. Whether do they have that same sort of mental stiffness that the Blues have against this Crusaders side as well? Just that stigma that the Crusaders are the Crusaders. And so what team they're going to come out with and how they're going to play. Are they going to have that ruthlessness that other teams have lacked against the Crusaders and that the Chiefs have lacked against the Highlanders? So Chiefs' performance for me is going to be what I'm looking at for a front runner of this tournament. But anything improved from the Crusaders is going to be worth watching.
Simon, I feel the Crusaders to pull off a miracle at home. On the other hand, I'm delusional at times. Yes, you are. Sorry, you're delusional on this one.
It's always one.
Yeah. Look, I mean, there's a chance, but with the Chiefs having won a Pacifica after this, they ain't resting players here, right? They're resting players against Moana the week after. So this is a full strength Chiefs side heading down south. They've won down in Christchurch, was it 2 years ago? So they know how to do it. They also have the same problem that the Blues have, which is when it comes finals time, they lose to the Crusaders. But during regular season, they know they can go down there and win. And I think they will do so this coming weekend. Next up, the Tars host the Rebels. Look, Rebels at home are a nasty prospect, as we've said, over in Perth. The 5 to 6 hour flight, the big time zone difference.
Force. Wrong team.
Oh, shit, yes. Anyway, Tars beat Rebels at home. I'm
Oh, no. See, this is my upset. This is my one upset. Rebels to do the job here over the Waratahs. Waratahs are going to go down a slippery slope. That means the Crusaders are going to beat them in a couple of weeks as well, and that's going to start the resurgence just to really mix up this table. No, Waratah Rebels to win this one. You know what? Imagine 5 points.
Wow. Now, this will be, I mean, look, this is actually an interesting one because the Waratahs going back off that Golden Point loss. Edmed, maybe his confidence is a bit shaken. So maybe what you say will happen. But no, I think Rebels away from home. This is a Tars. Okay, then. The two home teams. Drua hosting the Force. This has got to be a Drua win, surely.
Yeah, no question about this one. Drua, look, you just about don't pick against them if they're at home, do you? No matter who they're coming up against them, it's going to be tough for anyone to go to Fiji and beat this team. And I go back to what you said at the start. It's a support. It's just a rapturous, raucous, big crowd that just make a lot of noise and really get behind their team. It's something I think teams here are getting not used to, right? That sort of support. And it's kind of unsettling, I think, for them. It's something they're just not used to, and it's putting them off.
There's a number of things. It's also, you're out of your comfort zone, right? Fiji, at the end of the day, is not New Zealand or Australia, right? It's not a first world. Yeah. So it is different flying into that airport. You got a bunch of guys, a bunch of kids who, these guys perhaps have never left New Zealand before, apart from Australia. And it's kind of like, wow, shit, culture shock. Everything's different here. It's hotter here. Everything's just, they just don't adapt to that so well. We don't have the trips over to South Africa anymore, which really give you culture shocks and go, hello, this is what travel's like. Oh, so this is actually now the most kind of out of your comfort zone place to go to. And so I think that's possibly why I think there's a lot of guys who are just not used to leaving their comfort zone. And so hence that's very different. It's not like getting on the coach from the Blues to head down to Hamilton, for example. Which is pretty much the same place. Sure, Tron, City of the Future, whatever. It's not that different. Moving on then, we have the perhaps the only derby game of the entire competition, the Auckland Derby.
This one annoys me.
Am I trying to force things? Absolutely. Jeez, because, look, Moana Pacifica playing at home at Eden Park. That's not at home. So yes, Blues. Sure, there might be a different changing room, but this is the easiest pick of the round. I was looking, thinking, come on, Fiji and Drua must be the easiest pick of the round, and then looked down the next game and thought, no, sorry, it can't. It actually isn't. The Blues at home against Moana Pacifica. It's Blues, yeah.
Do you? Who goes into the away changing rooms here?
Blues. So the only difference with Blues is a different changing room.
But the home changing rooms for the Blues has all their names and stuff on their little locker bits and everything. So you're going to have Moana
because look, the Phoenix play there, the All Blacks play there. It's only on by Velcro.
Phoenix play in Wellington. What are you on about?
They played a game there recently.
Oh, you won game
and had a better crowd than the Blues did.
It's not hard.
Well, true, and it's also that scarcity thing. But anyway, you just Velcro the names on. They're not actually on there permanently. They don't own the ground, right?
Just do away with it. Just leave it as it is. The Blues, like, this is a dumb game. I hate this game because you got our home team playing in the same stadium as the away. That's so stupid. Sorry. Blues will win this game. Moana, I feel sorry for you. Pacifica. That's the highlight. Just to hear people going, Pacifica.
Look, I love the idea of the Moana Pacifica. I was a massive supporter of them up front. Unfortunately, it's been executed badly. And that's the problem here. Someone here is it Eden Park or Mount Smart? Moana Pacifica don't play at Mount Smart anymore. They apparently play over on the North Shore now, which is nowhere near the Pacifica community in Auckland, and also has such a bad pitch they had to move the game to Hamilton recently. So yes, not at no, they don't play at there anymore. Anyway, the Phoenix played 1 at Eden Park and 2 at Mount Smart. Oh, okay, there we go. Now look, and also I love Mount Smart. Boy, it does need renovating. Please renovate it. Plenty of teams play there. Let's use it. Actually spend some money, Auckland. Oh shit, you're X million in debt. Anyway, moving on then. From that, Highlanders versus the Hurricanes. Can the Highlanders stop the this cyclone Gabrielle that's blowing through the Super Rugby table this year?
That's a really intriguing reference, that one, isn't it? To give them a whole nickname over a cyclone. Brilliant. Look, honestly, with my head, no chance. All we can hope for is that it's going to be freezing cold. And the weather does not look good for down this part of the world. So I can tell you it's going to be, look, the wet won't matter, but that stadium, when you're down there and it's not full, it's still freezing. So if it's going to be, is it night? Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. So it could be really cold. All we can hope for is that the Hurricanes get cold and get frostbite or something. Aside from that, it's going to be, try and get a bonus point.
Oh, because they're traveling from tropical Wellington.
The ambient temperature is still a lot higher down here, trust me, especially at night when it's getting into winter.
No, I agree. It is, but it's even so.
I'm clutching at straws here for some advantage, okay? I've got nothing else, all right?
Not so much Hurricanes just slip. Yeah, but we used to say about that, about the kind of the Crusaders team ahead of Razor taking over. Is Laidlaw the new Razor of Super Rugby?
Oh, cool.
The yes, massive call. But hey, I just thought I'd throw it out there as a bit of fun. Look, so far he's not done a step wrong. So look, yeah, Hurricanes going is one of his favourites.
Yeah.
But look, the Highlanders will be one of their tougher tasks this year. So it will be that's to me, whilst there's going to be a closer game as far as picking goes, to me that's probably game of the round so far from this one. I think that could be a really exciting game. Normally you'd say Crusaders Chiefs will be the game of the round, but the Crusaders have just been so crap that on that one there. It is really cold in the stadium. Winds get up by the sides. Yeah, it's
Nocturnal's been there, just like me.
I've heard this from journalists because I've kind of made comments that they they're indoors. They're like, no, it's a cold stadium for us to be in.
You got to remember it's on the waterfront as well. Like it's literally on the port side of the city. So literally you got the water, the cool air off the water coming in straight in, and the corners are all open, halfway up open. So that air just goes straight through. And until that stadium packs out, it is, I can tell you, it's bitterly cold. So Nocturnal, I 100% agree with you. We've been there. We've been through the pain of sitting there going, Jesus, I should have worn more clothing. It's supposed to be a roof. What's going on?
Now, to me, having mainly been to, or only really been to Upper North Island or the stadiums, the coldest stadium I've been to is Rotorua, and that's not fun. To the stage where now, if you get a media pass, you get a media bench, which means you have plugs, which is fantastic because you can take along an electric blanket and plug it in to try and keep warm. But yes, that's the one stadium I kind of dislike the most within NPC, purely because of the temperature. Is there? I love it. The setting and the way they've painted the opposite stand is fantastic, with reference to all of the hot pools. Yeah, shit, we're nearly 2 hours.
Sounds like you need to come down here.
Sorry.
Sounds like you need to come down here. Come to a Stags game.
I would absolutely love to come and join you for a Stags game. Unfortunately, I'm at my poorest stage of my life. So there you go, folks. I'm 50 next month, or the month after next. And yes, this is my poorest I've ever been in my life. So yes, not a good time for me to be flying around the world. But I would love to head down there. I'd love to go to the zoo. And I would get an animal onesie just to go to the zoo, because I know they don't do that anymore, but I still think that's what you should do. I love animal. Get an animal onesie for the zoo. And I'd make Steve have one too.
All right.
What animal would you be?
Yeah, hippo.
I thought you were going to go bear with that one, but the
stag.
Stag. Well,
how do I not think of that? God. What's that?
Maybe a Bambi one rather than a stag. I'm not sure they have stag onesies.
Just get back the stag's hat with the horns. They wear down here. Come on.
So the hardest pick of the round is the last game.
Reds
hosting the Brumbies. Which way are you going?
The home team. I've committed too much to liking the Reds to back out on them now. I do like the Brumbies, but I kind of want the Reds to do well. I like their commitment. I like their passion. I like what they're bringing off the field, and their desire to win and their, life of the shirt. I like that side of things. I like what Les Kiss has brought that team. So I just want them to do well. So this is probably a heart pick more than a head pick. But I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. I think both sides have the ability to play some really exciting, good rugby. So I'll pick the Reds, but this is a real 50-50 for me. Home advantage. Is that still a thing these days?
Oh, yes, absolutely. As we've seen with Moana playing the Blues at Eden Park. So I'm going for the Brumbies in this one. I just think that they've been underrated, and they're in their stride now. So hence I'm going Brumbies. They are the best team in Australia, and will ever be so. So hence they're the proper Crusaders of the tournament, but the Australian Crusaders. There with that one. So you go. Those are our picks. We've disagreed on two, because you've gone for the Rebels against the Waratahs, and the Reds against the Brumbies, whereas I have gone with all of the looking at the pickers, all of those kind of the safe picks, we can say. But then again, I need help because I need to climb up our league. So if you have a look at Rugby Kingdom, which is the one that Steve set up, I'm currently sat in 6th place with 17 picks, whereas Simon, who's in the chat there, he's in 5th place, and Steve, Super Rugby Rejects, in 3rd place with 19 picks. So I'm already I'm only 2 picks behind you. So maybe
it'll be 4 after this week.
I can catch you up for after this week. We'll see. We'll see. So one of our longest shows, I hadn't even realized it. It's been such a joy. I'm still just getting over COVID, so hence it's just grand to be able to do this kind of stuff again. So hope you all are staying well and safe. Thank you, Steve. Been an absolute joy and a pleasure, and we'll catch up again next week.